Welcome to the Scottish Rite Journal podcast, an audio presentation of the Scottish Rite Journal, brought to you by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. This week's article is The Hidden Virtue of the Charge in the Northeast by Brother Kezad Jaki, Master Mason, and comes from the January-February 2024 issue of the Scottish Rite Journal. In the craft ritual of the Grand Lodge of India, we learn from the charge in the northeast of charity that this virtue has the approbation of heaven and earth and, like its sister mercy, blesses he who gives as well as he who receives. The charge also says that this virtue so often has been felt and practiced by the candidate that there is little need of elucidation. Yet we are reminded by Albert Pike in his 8th degree, intendant of the building lecture in Morals and Dogma. The symbols and ceremonies of Masonry have more than one meaning. They rather conceal than disclose the truth. They hint it only, at least, and their varied meanings are only to be discovered by reflection and study. In this article, we will explore the concept of charity in search of its virtue, which is less apparent, or even hidden. Freemasonry, throughout the craft lodge rituals, exhorts one to practice justice, praising it as a cardinal virtue that historically has been practiced by most Masons. On the other hand, H.S. Hestfold notes in his 1985 study, Justice to Mercy, that philosophers have adequately called out from their phenomenological research the conflict between justice and mercy. Other additions by scholars highlight how mercy and retribution both stem from moral orientations towards charity and justice, respectively. Masons also must wrestle with how to reconcile charity with justice in order to avoid descending into brute retribution. The aim of this article is to address how this might be achieved. In Freemasonry, wisdom is often veiled, although it lies in plain sight. Many a Mason may set sail for what is lucidly visible in a ritual book, but they should stop and take notice of the system that Masons term morality veiled and allegory. While the charge in the Northeast espouses the beauty of charity, it delicately highlights that mercy is of equal importance. When dealing with our fellow man, the charge after initiation guides us to render every kind office which justice or mercy may require. The direction here points clearly towards rendering justice within the purview of kindness. The same charge also calls for the cardinal virtues of prudence and temperance. Ultimately, the charge advises moderation that a Freemason must practice while delivering justice. The fourth cardinal virtue spoken of in the same breath as temperance, prudence, and justice is fortitude. In recommending fortitude, the charge thus may be calling upon us to exercise the courage to forgive with mercy. Clearly, justice for Freemasons is to be tempered with the remaining virtues. After extolling these virtues and priming the candidate with thoughts of justice, the lecture ends with a clear call for mercy to be found always in a Mason's heart. In a similar vein, the charge of passing draws to attention that the duties of a fellow craft include admonishing with friendship and reprimanding with mercy. In the words of the late brother Swami Vivekananda, who defined mercy as heaven itself and recommended all to be merciful, even justice and right should stand on mercy. From a candidate's first moment inside a lodge to being raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason, the craft degrees seek to inculcate compassion towards others, as the character puts himself into different roles within powerful human dramas. While the center of attention is the candidate, the rituals evoke compassion not merely in the candidate, but also on others observing the feats the candidate performs. The circumambulations during rituals are symbolic of ordeal, notes H. Bogdan in Western Esotericism and Rituals of Initiation. This experience for spectators who are brothers ought to be empathy for having gone through it themselves previously. Charity has been celebrated as a virtue that goes beyond justice, as our venerable charge informs us. Mercy is on par with charity, being its sister. It naturally follows then that even mercy goes above and beyond justice. This may lead to a natural uproar from those, like Kant, who believe that a monarch that displays a sovereign's power of pardon may be failing in his duties as a monarch in serving justice. It may even seem paradoxical that God, who is committed to love, kindness, and forgiveness, can also punish the wicked, as in Exodus chapter 34, verses 6 through 7. A virtuous person is one who exercises charity, a foundation of mercy and forgiveness, while also practicing justice. The quality of mercy is not strained, as Portia famously says in Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice, Act 4, Scene 1. The task before us is to find harmony between the often juxtaposed virtues of justice and the charity, which is mercy. I conclude by heeding the late Brother Mark Twain, who thought it wise to cite Shakespeare's quality of mercy speech before the first chapter of his book, The Prince and the Pauper, including these sublime words from the Bard. It, mercy, is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. Like and share this article, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you wish to comment, please leave one, and as a reminder, hit the notifications bell. Any accompanying photographs or citations for this article can be found in the corresponding print edition. The Scottish Rite Journal is published by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Supreme Council of the World. Mark Dreisenstock, 33rd degree, Managing Editor. I'm your host, Matt Bowers.